Hello everyone, and welcome back to The Journey. If you're new, I recommend checking out the previous episodes for a better understanding of what this journey entails. To put it bluntly, I have zero prior knowledge of seriously learning a language, and the goal is to see just how long it takes to learn Japanese from scratch. I will be keeping track of all my hours, as well as the categories each individual hour is spent in, and by the end we will hopefully achieve N1 level fluency, and eventually much later, be on par with native speakers. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. So, I hope everyone has had a great couple of weeks, and I'm sorry to be away for longer than usual. However, I'm back now, so we should be able to get back on schedule here. Now, because I kind of messed up the usual order of things, this episode will cover the original week it was supposed to, as well as 116 through 129. I did not study too much the past 2 weeks due to travel and a number of other things, but that's besides the point. What I do want to touch on real quick is that I was very inconsistent the past couple weeks, which will certainly hinder my progress. It's nobody's fault but mine, and I will have to continue to figure out ways to keep studying fun and interesting because no matter who you are, studying the exact same way every day will get old after a while. That's why it's so important to switch your study methods up and try a broad range of things in order to keep it interesting and not get fatigued. I'm telling you this because I know from personal experience, it can be very easy to underestimate the difficulty of things when viewing someone else's personal journey due to the inability to see behind the scenes. And the last thing I want to do is make it seem like I never have any problems or roadblocks. I'm always motivated to study, and it's an absolute breeze every day, because that will never be the case. Obviously, I usually want to study more than not, otherwise this channel probably wouldn't exist. But I still have plenty of days where I'd rather watch TV or play video games and things like that more than study Japanese. And that's going to happen regardless, no matter how disciplined you become. I just can't stress enough that learning a language is not by any means an easy feat. And it takes a lot of time, dedication, and consistency for you to really make a dent. This is by no means meant to scare anyone off. I just don't want to create false expectations for anyone thinking about learning a language. Yes, it is hard, and yes, it's going to take time, but in just the short time I've been studying, I can confidently say it's certainly worth putting in the work. And there's nothing more rewarding than being able to understand something in another language. It's truly an awesome feeling seeing the fruits of your labor no matter how big or small. Sorry for the little tangent, but I felt it was important to say as I want to make sure I'm portraying all the ups and downs of this journey as accurately as I can. And the past few weeks have had more downs than ups, which is bound to happen on your journey, so don't get too discouraged when these things happen. With that out of the way, now we can get into it. So, on Monday, I spent 30 minutes watching informative Japanese videos, had 14 minutes of kanji, and 48 minutes of Japanese media. Nothing on Tuesday, so on Wednesday we had 35 minutes of kanji, Thursday we had 52 minutes of listening and 21 minutes of kanji, Friday we had 1 hour 57 minutes of listening and 9 minutes of kanji, and lastly Saturday I had 30 minutes of listening with no study on Sunday. So, as you can see, I failed quite miserably with the two goals I set, being 10 hours of listening comprehension and 50 new vocab words, which we will get to that towards the end of this video. But for now, this week's total is 5 hours and 56 minutes. Now, due to my inconsistency these past couple weeks, I'll be grouping both together because in the week of 116 through 122, I only studied 1 hour and 20 minutes of kanji. Yeah, I know. I think that's the least I've studied since I started. The following week, 123 through 129, a little bit better. Monday had 13 minutes of kanji, no studying on Tuesday, Wednesday had 1 hour of kanji. Thursday had 10 minutes of kanji and 5 minutes of reading. Friday had 9 minutes of kanji, 7 minutes of katakana, and 31 minutes of reading. Lastly, Sunday had 1 hour of reading and 30 minutes of kanji, which brings the total for 116 through 129 to 4 hours and 5 minutes. Now, keep in mind, and just something I want to note, pretty much all the time spent on kanji these past couple weeks was me reviewing all the kanji I've learned so far because I was pretty scared I was going to forget them all while traveling. So, the new grand total going into February is now 83 hours and 7 minutes. Okay, even though it's now been a couple weeks, I want to finish reading our little short story we started in the last episode because, well, it forces me not to stumble on my words as best I can since I'm recording, and yeah, bring on the pressure. So I believe this is where we left off last time, so we're going to be starting here. 僕のお父さんはどれ? Who's the father? I really hope no one picks D. Right idea, just bad execution. I believe it's A. 僕のお父さんは強いです。髪が長いです。Okay, don't know what any of those kanji mean. So let's move on. A, final answer. Lock it in. It's too easy out here. It's too easy. 僕のお父さんはこれです。So like, whose father is it? This dude. This is the father. Ryan. I'm surprised they're using katakana for lion. I would have figured Japan would have a word for lion. Right. Alright. I could be wrong, but I am 99% sure the reason they use katakana is for borrowed words, right? Like words from other, in this case, obviously English, or, you know what I mean, right? Lion, Ryan. But I also know, like, phone in Japanese, denwa, but then there's also samaho, which is katakana. So maybe it's one of those cases. I don't know. I'm curious. Maybe I'll have to look it up. You'd think they'd have a word in their language, or like at least in hiragana, you know what I mean, for lion. 僕のお父さんはどれ? Alright. There's no way anyone sees this and picks D or C. I mean, I could maybe excuse the polar bear, but there's no way. There's no way someone sees this and says, yep, it's wiener dog. 僕のお父さんは足が短いです。水が好きです。Alright. So, obviously by now we know what 僕のお父さんは means. 足が短いです。I know Ashi's foot. I don't know what mijikai is. And then Ga's the particle. So mizu is water, or that's kanji for water. Ga's the particle. Tsuki doesn't look familiar, but it sounds familiar, and I'm pretty sure Tsuki is like like someone, or maybe not love someone, but just like you really like someone, I think. Again, I could be wrong. So maybe it's saying like something revolving around water, and then who looks the most like him. I don't know if they use this meaning of like in that sentence or in that way, like English. I don't know. But I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's A. Boom. I'm unstoppable, guys. 僕のお父さんはこれです。アザラシ。That's an interesting name. 僕のお父さんはこの人。I thought that would just be 子供, right? Like, 子供 is child, right? I don't know. I guess that means like human child. Maybe. That's my guess. And it looks like that's it. Just shows you some of the different animals and stuff. But Alright. That's it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this more often. And if you looked at my last video, this this like little Reddit thread or whatever, I forgot who I got it from. Anyways, amazing. I use this a lot for my reading practice, and I'll kind of speed through it and then like rep it out basically. So, regular example, like aoi, right? Blue. Minna aoi desu, right? Everything's blue for the most part. Aoi sora, blue sky. Aoi umi, blue sea. Aoi kuruma, car, you get the point. And then, this actually did confuse me for a little bit. So then it's like, koremo ao, right? There's no E. And then it's just ao ringo. So green apple. Which threw me for a loop for a second because I was like, well, you just said it was blue. But apparently, go down here. Minna aoi desu. Everything's aoi. Right, so green and blue. I just thought that was interesting. And eventually, we'll be able to get to these stories. Ooh. Might take a little while. The furigana is nice, but there's no chance I'm gonna understand any of these right now. If anyone has any good recommendations for like, I don't know, like beginner level reading with a little bit of a challenge, like kind of like more basic kanji. If anyone knows of a resource for that, and you have like kind of the ability to get rid of the furigana when you don't need it, because kind of the problem is like when you use furigana too much, it's gonna be hard for you to like, just rely on knowing how the kanji said because you're so used to the furigana. But it's also kind of pointless to just read something with no furigana and you don't know a single kanji. So like, I'm just wondering if there's any basic resources out there where you got like super simple kanji and it kind of just like helps build it up. Just a thought. But yeah, on to the next chapter. Alright, so like I said previously, the two goals I had set for 1.9 through 1.15 went pretty badly. And that brings the career total for goals met down to 6 out of 11. Now remember, the only way to make progress is to move forward. However, without reflecting on past mistakes, you could spend a lot of time moving forward in circles rather than a straight line. So we're going to reflect a little on some of the journey lows, and hopefully it will help offer some insight to anyone else feeling stuck or, lost. And just, you're not alone, all right? Because I'm there. I'm there right with you. So to start, I think I jumped the gun too early on last week's goals and kind of gave myself more than I could handle at that time. This doesn't necessarily mean I couldn't complete them because they were too difficult. I mean, they were pretty simple tasks. I just wasn't motivated enough and kind of burnt myself out trying to do so much. I've also noticed that the weeks where I don't have a sort of loosely set study plan are usually the weeks where I get the least done, which means, I'm just spitballing here, but maybe it will be better to set some bare minimum standards for studying each day, and then if I'm feeling it and have extra time, I can study more. Just a thought. I also think I need to work on consistency a lot more. I've been able to achieve streaks with consistency before, however, it has been difficult to maintain those streaks for more than a week. It's a weird place where I know it can be done because, I've done it before. However, it hasn't exactly clicked yet on how I need to go about it when things go awry or in a more long-term sense. Yes, obviously, the key to being consistent and avoiding inconsistency is discipline and putting in the work every day. A lot easier said than done. I do also think distractions play a huge role in my more inconsistent weeks and shortcomings. I've found that pretty much every piece of work I've put off, 99% of the time, it's not because I don't want to do it. More often than not, I just would rather do something else instead because that something else is easier, more fun, relaxing, etc. And it's fine to do those things. Yes, but it's a problem when they become an escape route to avoid more important matters. I enjoy making these videos and learning Japanese. It's just that because it's a more long-term payoff, a more long-term gain rather than a short-term one, it makes it harder to compete with things like video games, social media, and TV, things with like a quick, rapid-fire release of excitement and dopamine. It can be a little jarring to think that the dopamine from these things is strong enough to not only pull you away from things you don't really want to do, but also pull you away from what you actually want to do. Now, I haven't found any permanent solutions as of yet to this, but having my phone in work mode or do not disturb tends to help. You could also just turn off notifications. I also tend to appear offline in Discord when I'm working, and I try to set hours during the day where work gets my 100% undivided focus. I try and separate the play from the work. Again, I'm nowhere near perfect, and I can't stress that enough. That's the last thing I want you to take away from this video is that I got it all down, because I'm quite far from it. And even with these safeguards in place, I still get pulled over to the other side. But it's certainly less than it used to be, which is good. So with all that out of the way, I hope it helps anyone feeling the same way with their own endeavors, and you can gain some insight from my thoughts and experiences so far. I will not be setting any goals for the next week, as I just want to focus next week on consistently studying more than anything and getting back on track of things. And there will be a video next week. I'll go back to the once a week thing. I know this month was a little wacky, and I apologize for that. But for the foreseeable future, everything should be back to normal. So with that, goodbye and good luck.